morning. It is December 23rd, about 67 degrees this morning, so it's not as cold as it looks. I had just put my hood on. So we are getting ready for a 3-day freeze. I guess it's supposed to, the cold front's supposed to come in by 10 this morning, and it is, I think, 7:45 right now. Corey is working over there with the trees, and I'm trying to prep the garden. We're going to try to put the silage tarp up and over all of our tomatoes and partially on the potatoes to try to keep this as safe as possible.
A little bit of help, and I think running that water underneath there would,
Just under the tree,
underneath the tree, will help generate enough heat,
like for a little microclimate.
just to give them that little bit.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, and then we're gonna try to get these potatoes covered, and of course the sun's coming in. I'll have to get it a better shot. I have a box lid of old washcloths and rags and stuff. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to wrap the tops of the posts that I have the trellis on for the tomatoes, so that when we put the tarp on, it will be less likely to put holes in the tarp. I've put solo cups or plastic cups, throwaway cups, on the stakes that are sticking up above the trellis. But for all the others, I'm going to need something a little bit more wrappable. Little collard greens are doing nicely. Tiny babies. I just absolutely love the dew, how the dew looks on them. Alright, so now I have all the rags on the posts and also cups. These stakes come above the cattle panel here, so I just put cups on those. And on the others where the trellis comes above and level or even with, I just put these rags and clothespin them. Hopefully that will work, and we will be able to sustain our tarp without any holes. Our tomatoes are getting really tall, just looking nice. And these, I'm waiting for them to get a little bit taller so that I can get them trellised up. Oh look, a single cauliflower plant in the whole row. We have a couple more coming, but this one's doing nicely. And there's all of our kale. It's such a pretty morning. Such a pretty morning. You can see the onions up over there. All the pak choi right there. Just beautiful. Coming over here to the onions. There's a bunch of Bidens or Spanish needles growing up here that I need to weed. But these onions are looking really nice. Got a few different varieties. Let's see, have them marked. One of them is Texas Legend. I think the markers are kind of hidden. This one is White Bermuda, this row. I don't know where the marker is for that row over there. It's probably just in the weeds. But I know I have some Red Creole here as well. Had to parse up a row. Yeah, Red Creole. So the ones in the middle, some of the ones in the middle seem not to have taken very well, but most of them are doing fine. And they're pretty. The cabbages are finally starting to really come up. I had to reseed them because not all of them did come up, but I think we'll at least get a few heads. So pretty. That water on the leaf. So cute. And our tomato, the other red thing in the garden, strawberries. Beautiful. Now these are from last year. I'm gonna go ahead and pick this because the critters have been trying to eat them, and with the added rain and moisture, some of them have started to mold. But there's a lot of flower set on these. These are from last year's planting, and as you remember, we let our garden just overgrow over the summer, and those weeds protected these plants, and so they made it. Now they're producing again, which is great. And the first one I had was pretty sweet, just a touch watery, but it was really, really sweet. And that's pretty rewarding. The ones that I've had subsequently haven't been that sweet, possibly because I picked them a little bit early. This pak choi over here is looking wonderful. I don't know what is eating them, but they're not taking too much of the plants. I'll be harvesting some of this as they've developed really nice heads and stalks. I never did go through and thin them. Wonder what that is. Wonder what those, is it droppings or is it, what is it? I don't know what that is. But I never did thin these. So I planted a few per hole, but they seem to be growing just fine. This is my first time growing pak choi, and I think it's one of my favorite greens. Another thing we're going to protect is the potatoes. We're going to try to protect the potatoes. We have some hoops, like Corey was saying earlier, to put over them and stretch the tarp along the rows. They're actually already starting to flower. They're pretty. I've noticed that a lot of weeding has been done, a lot of transformation, a lot of tall grasses removed, a lot of pesky lower lying weeds removed. We were graced by the presence of very good and loving friends who came over here and just said, we're coming over and we're going to help you with your garden. And that was just an absolute blessing, and I thank everyone who was able to come, because you're helping us get back on track for a good spring garden. Can y'all see that? Isn't that pretty? Perfect. I don't see the spider, but my friends were here. They helped me to clear off the tarp where we had thrown a bunch of weeds from the garden, and roll this up so that we could have the tarp in preparation for this freeze. I think it's supposed to get like 29 or 30 tonight, which is Friday night, and Saturday night is supposed to be 30, if not lower, and then Sunday night again is going to be freezing. And so they were able to help us to get the tarp ready so that we can move it to help cover our crops. And that was quite a big deal. May I suggest that, and you probably wouldn't even do this, but we put the weeding from the garden on the tarp thinking it could dry out and we could just move it from there, because if it dries out then we can put it on the yard and it won't re-root. But it had rained a few times, and of course it made it heavy to move, So I would not suggest using your silage tarp to use as a drying mat, because you're just going to create extra work for yourself, and because you're going to have to move it again before you can move the silage tarp. So just a lesson learned. Just can't get over how pretty the sunlight looks on everything this morning. I don't see any new lettuce germination yet. I had to reseed this as well. Here's one that actually is producing from the first planting. That's what all of these rows should have looked like, but it doesn't. And the 1,000 square foot garden is finally getting mown down. Friends helped us get a lot of that chopped off, and it's looking a lot better, a lot less overgrown. We still have a little bit to go, but it's a lot easier to see my way through what to do and getting it ready for spring, which I believe I'm going to make that a sorrel patch because we love it so much, and we want to make sure we have plenty of sorrel throughout the year. Over in my herb garden now, and look how huge this African basil has gotten. It is just enormous. Just beautiful. Usually the bees are all over this. And there is a bee over there. I don't know if you can see it flying around. I don't think this is going to be cold hardy, so I may lose it. But I think these are supposed to be annuals anyway. I wish you could smell this. It's so pretty smelling. And I don't know, it's just so pretty. So I may lose a few things in here. Looks like I'm losing a Tulsi here. Most of it at least. My garlic vine will definitely get hit. The camellia should be fine. It's pretty frost hardy, so it should be fine. Not really worried about that. I'm hoping that this African basil will bounce back or reseed itself something. And over there I've got a turmeric, which I will wait and dig after it freezes so that the leaves are all killed back and I can just dig up the roots. This pretty bush has done really well, and the pentas have done well. My palm tree should be just fine. It should be okay to either 25 or 28 degrees. My dragon tree is the thing that I've got to protect over here. This is a bush that is growing back from last year when it got frozen back. That's why it's so bushy. Eventually I'll want to thin it out so that it can grow in more singular stalks. But I'm going to protect this. This is a plant that my family has had since I was born, either since I was born or my brother was born 3.5 years before I was. So I finally put it in the ground a year or 2 years ago, and it's done really well. Had it in a pot for many years, but I definitely want to save that, so I've got to create some kind of barricade and or structure that I can put plastic and blankets on, and probably put a heat lamp in there. And here's what I've done. Good old-fashioned ladder, and I put this piece of fencing here to keep the blanket or plastic or whatever from touching the actual bush, so that there's limited contact. Hopefully that will work. Alright, it's time to harvest the sorrel or roselle before it freezes. We have this one bush, and not all of them are quite ready, but I would rather harvest them early than lose all of them. See, some of them are just gorgeous. Look at that big thing there.
Supposed to be pretty windy tonight.
Is it?
Yeah.
So how's that going to affect the smudge pots?
Huh?
How is that going to affect the smudge pots?
It actually helps because it blows the heat. The heat that's coming up,
Uh-huh.
you lose so much straight up, the wind blows it right into the tree.
Okay.
And that's what happened that one year when we used the burn barrels to help.
Okay.
So
See if we can protect these flower sets.
this
all
is just
these
a little one.
Flower panicles.
This is a little one, so
Yeah. So you're thinking about trimming these lower branches out so you can get the smudge pot in there so that the warm air will rise under the canopy and keep it warm. We are under our silage tarp, and let me see. I don't know if you can see us, but
which way?
yeah, you can put your light so that they can see. Follow me back around here. And we just have everything. I don't know if you can see very well, but we have
A bunch of tiny holes.
a bunch of tiny holes. Got one tomato here, tomato there, and over there opens up to our potatoes. And then over here, show them the heater. We have a space heater in here. How cold is it supposed to get tonight, babe?
They say 29, but when they're saying 29, that's usually probably 26, 27 for us. So
You gotta
we'll
turn
see.
the light to your face. Okay.
Probably 26 to 27 for us.
Okay.
So that's cold.
So we have moved that huge silage tarp in here, over here. So turn the light off so I can show them the stars. You can see all the stars. Look at all those holes in the silage tarp. We didn't realize there were that many. All of those stars are holes. He was gonna come under here and put some tape on holes, but yeah, no. There's too many. Alright, we're heading out of our...
Let's get the stuff. Let's get the parts and stuff that you want to use.
Okay, I would call this a success. With just 2 of us is amazing. There's the bok choy here. We have the silage tarp tented up over all of our tomatoes. Huge, huge silage tarp. And down at the other end, like I showed you while we were under the tarp, we have the silage tarp connected to the potato tarp, and so that the heat can go toward that direction as well. Now, we are not able to protect all of our potatoes, but at least we'll get some harvest. We'll see how those do. But it feels good to get that done. Once again, our friends really helped us prepare for this freeze, so thank you. All said and done, we were able to extend the potato cover. We just staked some of the shorter stakes and put cups on them so that they won't work through the tarp. We do have a few over to the right that aren't going to get covered, but that's okay. We've got most of them covered, and all said and done, that's what it looks like. Alright, now to show you just here and there on the property where we have covered trees. I'm going back here on the north side toward the north side of the pond. We've got a couple of trees, a mango and can't remember the other tropical. But anyway, I'll show you the trees that we have had to cover. The reference here is the blue shed, and then over here, I want to call it an Adamoya of some sort, but there's the mango back there, and then the other one here. You can see all the winter squash vine, which is the, oh, I can never think of it, the butternut squash vine. It's just taken over. We are going to lose it in this freeze. There is another one of our tropicals, can't remember what it's called, behind the blue shed, and beyond that is our star fruit, which is doing well. I guess I'll go back here because beyond that is another smudge pot under the jackfruit. Back here, which has, it's recovering, it's trying to recover, and it's doing nicely, and it's got several fruit on it, and we're hoping that we can save that. Corey's got his thermostat hanging there. He's got a weather station inside, and over here under the star fruit, he's gonna have water going to at least keep the underside and the trunk of the tree warm. So back here on the south side of the pond, we have another mango tree, one that got pruned basically by the hurricane this past season. So it's easier to put tarp over than say that one behind it. So we got that one, and back here we've got another one that had to get trimmed back as well. We've got water lines running to the lychee, or lychee, however you say it, to help keep them warm underneath, and hopefully that will help. Got sprinkler heads under here to help with those trees. Got a couple of flower pushes, but for the most part they've stayed pretty dormant. This cold weather is going to be good for it, and hopefully we'll get a nice crop from these this year before the squirrels ransack them, and then we are left with nothing again. So, and like you saw earlier, this mango tree has smudge spots beside it on either side. And then that's basically what we've done. I think the hardest part was the garden. And, well, the struggle is the huge tarps, but we got it done. And that's pretty basically what it looks like in a nutshell. There's a few more that we tarped. This one is the garlic vine up in the herb garden. Put a blanket under there as well to cover it. And then over here is the purple glory tree. It seems to be coming back really well, and we're hoping to save it. We have it under a garbage can, and then a blanket, and then a tarp. It is supposed to be windy tonight. Hope it doesn't get terribly windy. But just enough to keep the smudge pot warmth circulating the mango trees. And this is my dragon tree, and I think it will be really good under this protection. And one more thing, I have a vine in the corner of this fence. Corey got that covered a little bit earlier, and as you can see, we use old sheets sometimes, old mattress pads. Keep that stuff if you have stuff to cover during freeze. It comes in quite handy. Thank you for joining us today. Hopefully everybody will get minimum damage in this freeze. It's going across the United States. But us here in Florida, it's colder earlier than normal. Usually don't get this freeze warning, and temperatures in the high 20s and low 30s this soon. Usually it waits until January. Anyway, take care, God bless, and we'll see you soon.